Welcome to the FPL USA Press Play Podcast. We got a banger in store for a Game Week 36 preview. You got Bucks on the mic, joined by my partner in FPL crime, Brian. How the hell are you, man?
It should be a crime to be doing this well in FPL. Let me tell you, Bucks. My team has gone behind enemy lines and given me all the secret information I need to pull yet another sizable green arrow. So I'm in good spirits, and it's going to be a busy week over here at the Chin Nation household. Going to have our first kid on Friday, so very excited about that. Entering fatherhood, so I know you got a couple pro tips you've been sharing with me, but I'm hoping that I can still finish these last 3 game weeks out, with a little bit of energy left and some, some thought particles in my head for FPL. But it's going to be an interesting couple weeks here.
Yeah, you better make your moves right after the game weekends. As soon as the baby's taking a nap, that's when you take your hits or you set your bus team for sure.
That's right. Bus team, very important. Very important. Who knows when I'm going to pass out and fall asleep at any given time coming up here.
Yeah, so, big news going on in the FPL game. Of course, we're down to the final 3 game weeks with 1 match to go in game week 35. But, more important than FPL is the life we lead outside of the fantasy game we love so much. And, as Brian just teased, he's in dreamland with the season that he's having, but him and his wife are also going to be, needing to get their beauty sleep in pretty shortly. Brian, tell the listeners, if they don't know already, the 2 mega milestones, one in FPL and one IRL, that you're lining up for this week.
I mean, what else is there to say? Many blessings to count, right, Bucks? What do we say here? The Bucks Bomb household. Every day is a blessing, right? So
yeah, something like that.
Something
Not
like
this
that.
FPL season. Every day is a stepping on a rake moment for Bucks at the moment.
Oh, man.
I think you're ranked inside the top 300 in the world, which is a mega accomplishment. Probably safe to say you aren't going to win the damn thing, but this is probably as close as any of us are going to get to touching that trophy, a la Harry Kane. Now, you and your lovely wife, Laura, you're also lining up to welcome your first child, a beautiful baby girl, into the world at the end of the week. So it's all coming up green arrows for you and your family right now. So, thrilled that you're able to be on this pod and thrilled that we get to create content together every week. Now, if you are a regular listener, just be prepared. My wife and I are also getting ready to welcome our 3rd child into the world. So there might be some quirky schedules and special guests along the way as we wrap up the season here. So bear with us. But again, we do this for the love of the game. And, it's not for money. It's not for fame. It's really for the good vibes and the banter that we have along the way. Isn't that right?
I mean, I do it for those too. It'd be nice to be famous from FPL, win the whole thing. But hey, man, I'm still dreaming. 3 game weeks left. I'm ranked 253rd in the world. So there's a chance that I could still pull off a crazy double-digit OR, which is absolutely insane. But I think the main thing was going into this week, I was sitting at 642K. Excuse me, 642nd in the world.
Let's get
rid of that K. Yeah.
Yeah, leave that K to me, baby.
Yeah, that's right. And I had this moment where, I was thinking about my team, and there's no difference if I finished 3,000th or if I finished, 2,000. So I was really just like, I need to go for it. I need to go a little differential with captaincy. I even took my 3rd hit of the season going into this week. And lo and behold, I end up with my highest game week rank the whole season. So
don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Still a match to go.
And I still have 2 players to go. I have Mateta and Munoz to go. So I could get lucky with some Mateta points. I know that a lot of managers have started to drop him. So, fingers crossed. But yeah, currently on Sunday night, 253rd in the world.
Incredible. Bravo. Again, there's a lot to celebrate. If you have been living under a rock this season, it's time to congratulate the league leaders and champions, Liverpool. They got their guard of honor away at Stamford Bridge. And I was thrilled that then Chelsea proceeded to kick their little booties up and down the pitch with a big, massive 3-1 victory to the Blues. Yes, I did ruin my youngest daughter's nap time at least 2 times today, celebrating. And then it bled right into an early celebration of my birthday, which is like 3 weeks early. Absolutely scheduling nightmare for the Bucksbaums here. But yeah, I was wearing my Chelsea jersey, didn't get any pasta sauce on it. What could go wrong? I'm just in great spirits this Sunday night as we record. So let's bang on about your team.
What a perfect time, though, for Chelsea to play Liverpool. Like, we need the 3 points, and it's right after they clinch the league. The Liverpudlians are a little bit drunk, a little bit partied out over the weekend, a step or two slow in this one. So it was just great to get that Enzo goal in the first 5 minutes and just be like, okay, I think we have a really, really good chance at taking all 3 points here. So Chelsea haven't scored many early goals lately, it's felt like. And so to end up with a number of goals in this one was a joy to see.
Yeah, brilliant. And that was an important result for goal difference, too, because we're now exactly level with Newcastle, who managed to drop points. They also sputtered out of the gate away at Brighton. Brighton get an early goal through Jacobo Minte, and Alexander Isak, never in doubt. He came good with the penalty, gets the max bonus. I really should have captained him. I think that was a moment of regret. As soon as I saw the Manchester City team sheet come out, which was a Friday match, we had an early deadline, if you can remember all the way back then. And he's playing out on the wing. KDB, your guy, Brian, is playing as the false 9.
Last dance with Kev.
Yeah, and you know what? Wolves really should have won. I think shout out to @BlackWolf, @FPL_BlackWolf, Dan, who's our third host. We're excited about his recent promotion and to get his big butt and brilliant bald dome piece back on this podcast before the end of the season. We can't wait for you to make your return. And yeah, Wolves, really, they should have been dreaming of another win. Could have made it 7 in a row the way that this game played out. But City, they just had enough of that home field empty hod magic to win 1-0 thanks to a Kevin De Bruyne strike. Gets the max bonus. And for managers like you, Brian, who had him captained,
that's right.
How many points was that? Tell me. Rub it in my face.
Goodness. You know, I generally don't love the early cap, but I was just feeling it, and I'm like looking at the ownership because now I'm at a tier where you really have to kind of see who the other managers around you have. His ownership was low, and I just said, look, I'm going to take a hit going into this game week. I took out Saka and Sarr and brought in Bumo and Bowen. And so the Bowen hit paid off by +2 points. So winning in the margins, super important.
You'll take that.
I went with KDB capped for the 22 points, and that was absolutely massive. I got 173% of his points around my rank, I think, or something like that. So just absolutely huge. And nobody else, especially just taking a look at like the content creator league that I was looking at, like nobody went with maybe 3 or 4 people in the top 25 went with KDB. So it was a great moment. And I'm super stoked. And then I also had a total of 63 points this game week. And I started Martinez for his 9-pointer. So to get that 9 where some people started Raya, that was massive for me. And then, like I said, Bowen came good with 9, Isak with 9. And then I have Bumo just as a defense shield pick. But Bumo and Salah both were very quiet. So I was very fortunate because it was a wide spread of captains. But after I got my captain points on Friday, I was just like, man, I got to sweat this whole weekend.
No, you weren't sweating. You were on the Ouija board. I heard your fingers scratching the tiles from cross country here. I knew you had your voodoo dolls out and your sharp, pointy things. And
Kev, 1 shot, 1 goal, 11-pointer. You love to see it. You know, Ryan Aït-Nouri off the post has another good follow-up shot. That could have been a goal. They had a 2-on-1 or 2-on just the keeper.
2 on 0. They had a 2 on 0.
Bellegarde messed that up so badly. I can only imagine what Dan was doing in his living room watching that piss poor breakaway and how they didn't score there. And so very fortunate to get, Gvardiol's 8 points, and then especially KDB being on bonus. He didn't really do too much the rest of the match, but he was making a few tackles actually, and that's something we haven't seen in many, many months. So it does show a good sign of fitness, and he's a great differential for me right now. So I'm going to ride him, and then just absolutely flying. So my game week rank this week so far, again, some people have a triple up on Palace to go tomorrow. I have 2 players, 53K overall game week rank. So that would be my highest of the season by far. So just to put that into perspective. So my steady ascent up the ranks, but my other highest game week this season was 182K. So absolutely stellar timing, impeccable bleeping timing to come through with a 63-point score when a lot of the managers I'm seeing low 40s. So I'm 15, 20 points ahead of a lot of managers. So we'll see. Eze and Sarr could give me a lot of pain tomorrow, but maybe Mateta can match them, and I'll just keep treading. But 253, 3 game weeks to go, differential captains, and maybe a spicy hit if I need to. But now the team is looking very spry with Bowen really rounding into form. That's 3 9-pointers in a row for him. So they look like shit, but he keeps delivering, and he's just been a great fantasy asset. This is my first week with him, so. Yeah, and started him over Rodgers as well. Rodgers blanks. I did have Konza on the bench, so I got to shout out my guy at FPL_Hunt, a.k.a. the SoCal Connor. He was really getting in my grill about if you're going to start Martinez and you have that, that's really confidence, you double up because then you only need 1 clean sheet. And so I did not really think about that. It was more of a hedge, honestly, to split Martinez and Kiwi and just go with one from each. And then, Arsenal just collapse in that match and Kiwi ends up on 1 point. But I get a lot of, winning in the margins again. Managers who had Saliba or Kiwi plus Raya, they got 2 points and I'm sitting with 10. So even that's a big green for me. So, all right, enough about me. But we're flying. And now we're, double digit finish is something you dream of. But this game week, let's see, what am I on? A 58% green arrow. So it can happen. I just need some more luck. You got to go differential in a few spots. But yeah, man, fucking stoked. I'll be honest, fucking just stoked.
Yeah, couldn't happen to a worse guy, but it's great for this podcast. So love to see it.
Right.
I'm of course on a red arrow. I started Raya. I had Konsa on the bench. I'm treading water inside the top 500K, but who cares about me? Let's go to our first break. When we come back,
you just got to beat my score of 420K from last year, Bucks. So you got 3 game weeks to do it.
Yeah, there will be more hits and chaotic energy flying left, right, and center. Don't you worry about it, listeners. Let's dive into our first break. When we come back, we'll preview all the action, everything that the Vibes Master, the sorcerer himself, Brian, is predicting to happen come game week 36 when we get back.
All right, let's fast forward and take a look at game week 36. Only 3 more game weeks to go. And unfortunately, no doubles announced, Buck. So for managers like you and I who are out of chips, not really the worst thing, because I think a lot of managers were hoping for that one last gasp effort to use a triple captaincy in a potential double game week, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. So we have more European fixtures to come. Obviously, Arsenal's second leg versus PSG is going to be quite challenging, and there could be more rotation, for their next match. I was very surprised to see Arteta play such a strong team sheet versus Bournemouth today, and then they lose. So pretty hilarious that's how it played out. And then obviously you also have somehow Tottenham and Manchester United going for the Europa League final, and I forgot that they get automatic qualification into next UCL season. So that's actually quite impressive for one of these teams that actually should be nowhere near qualification. But since if they win the Europa League, they get the auto bid with the expanded field. So lots to play for them. And we saw a ton of rotation for both of those teams, and should be something to note for the next upcoming game weeks.
Yeah, and it's great that you brought that up. Important to note, because of the new system, the coefficients between the leagues, the Premier League will
You're a math major, right?
Yeah, I'm okay at math. Don't hate. It's the pronunciation that and geography that I'm less great with. But
I mean, you've heard me shout out the managers of the game week in our league. Whew, I just don't have any of that.
You stick to your FPL green arrows.
Yeah,
those
Middle Eastern names are giving me a lot of trouble. My goodness.
So the Premier League will for certain have 5 Champions League teams next season. So the top 5 teams are all going to finish with Champions League qualification. Now, should Manchester United or Tottenham Hotspurs make it to the final, which based on their first leg, it looks like almost a certainty. They're both winning by at minimum of 3 goals. So bravo to
Tottenham's
both those.
3-1. 3-1, and
excuse me.
Manchester United
most by 2 goals. And again, it's they're playing against lesser opponents from far weaker leagues. So they should be comfortable favorites to face each other in the final. That means that the winner of the Europa League will then get the 6th spot for a Premier League team into the Champions League. Now, of course, if you're an Arsenal fan and you're not going to win a trophy this year, and then you get to see Tottenham Hotspurs or even, God forbid, Manchester United down in 15th or 16th place, getting to lift silverware and join you in the same competition, man, that's got to stick in your craw in a really painful way. But there's no condolences or sympathy here from 2 Chelsea supporters, so shove it. But let's transition. Let's talk about the best matches to target for FPL in game week 36, because we are expecting even more chaos down the stretch because Arsenal didn't rotate in their match hosting Bournemouth. Still lost. Very strange performance, very strange decision. They will then most likely be heavily rotated when they travel to Anfield in game week 36. I think that's one of the best matches on paper. Whether that will actually ring true and whether that's just a formality of a cakewalk for Liverpool, I think that's what I'm predicting. I think that's going to be comfortable to Liverpool 2-0 for the hosts. I think Arsenal play the kids. I don't think there's any reason to risk top guys after, they're basically going to play 190 minutes, 200 minutes, most of the starters in 3 really hard contests between the PSG matches and this Bournemouth game. You predicting anything in that one, Spicy?
Yeah, it's very interesting with a lot of managers doubled up on the Arsenal defense. Do you just completely fade them away to Liverpool? And I would say that I expect this match actually to be I expect Liverpool to be up for it and just really to prove how far and away they are in terms of being a better team than Arsenal this year. So I expect there to be at least a much better shift than we saw that the kind of B or B- squad put in today for Liverpool. So I'm going to fade. I think I'm going to completely fade all of my Arsenal assets and just hope for the best with the replacements I have on my bench.
Yeah, I think that's wise. The other match I do want to throw out for the best matches for pure, Premier League watchers or for just the neutral is going to be Chelsea at Newcastle. That has humongous implications for the top 5 finish. Chelsea and Newcastle currently tied on points. Newcastle slightly ahead because of their record breakdown. They have more wins than Chelsea, and I believe they're tied on goal difference as well. So it's a dead rubber there. Of course, Newcastle are the home team, so I think they're slight favorites if I'm projecting on the bookies. But I think this is a really interesting match. Again, Chelsea getting a little lucky with timing because the Newcastle team seems to be a little bit leggy at the moment. They've played a lot of important matches. They've already won a trophy. And after this Chelsea match, you got to feel like Newcastle could just basically cruise to making... Oh, sorry. They also play away at Arsenal. So, yeah, Newcastle, they're still very much in the hunt.
Tough.
Yeah. So I think I want Chelsea to win, but I think my head is telling me 2-1 to the host team. So I would start Isak, but I don't think there's a clean sheet anywhere near this fixture. How about you?
Man, could this just end up being a draw?
Could be. That would be okay. Take that.
Yeah, because Newcastle would then have to play Arsenal. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. There's so much to play for just
you got to start your best 11 and just go for it. I mean, this is basically a mini final.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. It should be a fantastic match. Hopefully, we'll see Cole Palmer to continue to just build some confidence and end the season on a high note. He's like less than 5% owned now in fantasy. Everyone's moved off of him, so it would be interesting if he could have a few spicy differential point scoring bonanzas before the end of the season. But it's going to be a great watch. I'm very excited for that one. That one's going to be oh my goodness, Bucks. Did you look at what time this match is on? Oh my goodness.
Not great.
No, not great. I'm going to be at the hospital. 4 a.m. this match is on?
You'll be awake. Don't worry. There's nothing going on at the hospital. You're not the one going to be, legs spread in the bed. That will be your lovely partner. Now, transitioning from the best matches in real life, let's go to the matches that are target point haul potential for any FPL managers. And I think the list is pretty short and straightforward. We're targeting the teams going down. So most obvious, Manchester City traveling to play at Southampton. Good grief. If you are a Saints fan, you've endured a lot of pain this season, and they're not giving you a lot to cheer for. So Manchester City, they should feel right at home in an empty, quiet stadium. So I think they're going to put it to the Saints 3-0. And I actually think we could see Erling Haaland back. And if he's back and we get news that he's going to play, I mean, I'm going to take a hit to get him in. It's just, he's going to be so lightly owned against Southampton, the worst defense in the league. You got to take a risk like that, right? Am I crazy?
If you're really chasing and you get news that he is going to start, I just don't think, he was on the bench for the Wolves match, but then he didn't come in at all. And so that was a little bit weird. I thought maybe he'd get a few minutes just to stretch his legs and get the Ferrari out of the garage, but I don't know. We'll see if he's still revved up.
They made defensive subs though, because they didn't really need another goal, they always do. 1-0, you always need another goal, but they prioritize the defensive subs.
It was a very fortunate 3 points for them, honestly. And especially after Rand hit the post, I was like, wow, maybe Man City will drop 3 points in this match, and then Chelsea can sneak up in there and be less stressed.
Dare to dream.
It's been interesting seeing City just clean a lot of these matches. They're getting lucky, but some of the variance maybe is going in the favor of their defense. So I think over the last 8 game weeks, we've just seen them churn out a lot of Diash and Gvardiol 7 and 8 pointers. Very common. Yeah. And that's just bread and butter that used to be City of old, maybe a couple seasons ago, 2 or 3 seasons ago, where you could really rely on their defense for those clean sheets. But
I want to double click on that, Brian. I want to double click on that because I think that's something that I actually wrote down in my notepad. I have a little FPL section of my notes app on my phone. Next season, when I use my second wild card, I will double up on City defense because we've seen how many seasons now is it that they're mediocre, they're going through a rough patch. Yeah. All of a sudden, this calendar turns over. Yeah, calendar turns to March. They become a ruthless Terminator-esque animal. And they just reel off win after win after win. And somehow the luck just breaks their way. So that's something, Savio, who's my third City asset, didn't even feature. That's not great. Marmouche, he's now far wide on the right. Also not ideal for FPL points, just from a heat map perspective. Yeah, the double City defense, much safer. They're getting much more points. It's I feel a little silly about that, so I will rectify those errors come next season.
Diash is just not a fun pick. He's very boring. He's a 6-pointer, grab your hard hat.
Who's having more fun? Guy, you at 258 in the world or me at 500K in the world?
Yeah, and for me this season, I have swerved those X-Men's Riskin, Savio, and I never had Rico Lewis, but I did have Foden for a while, and he's
Sure.
still subbing on in the 88th minute for 1 point consistently. Good Lord, I don't know where the hell that guy's been this season, but yeah, I think Marmouche I'm still happy to hold. I think that in this one,
He was
Marmouche will get
so
the start.
uninvolved. Ugh, he was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, Wolves had a good game plan. They played pretty well. He also took a few like batterings throughout the match. Maybe 2 or 3 times he was down, and I think they were pretty physical with him. And he's a player who's a little bit lighter in weight compared to the likes of you or I. But I still think Marmouche is fine to hold this week. I'm looking at moving off of Crystal Palace forwards like Mateta instead, just knowing that those minutes are really going to be managed very soon. So I'm curious if we see Mateta even get past 55 minutes tomorrow. Like what are your thoughts there on the Palace assets, because they're playing a rotated possible Spurs team at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So what are your thoughts on those assets?
I probably would sell before I buy, but I think I think there's sexier picks than Mateta right now at the moment, but let's not dwell on Palace. We'll talk about them in our transfer plans and captaincy shout section. I do want to just make sure to go to 2 other matches. The first is Brentford at Ipswich. Again, I think Brentford,
juicy.
Yeah, team that is just pouring in goals right now. I'm on
giving up a lot of goals and scoring a lot of goals. It's perfect for fantasy.
They're like the pure popcorn team right now. I think if you're a casual fan and you're not like a diehard like I am, and you have a certain team and you will refuse to root for any other team, I think if you want to pick a fun second team, Brentford could be that team because, like you just said, Brian, it's up and down football. The opposition is scoring in bunches. They're scoring in bunches. It's just a wild and wacky watch every single time Brentford's on the telly. So I think they absolutely demolish Ipswich. Ipswich, you could start seeing the cracks. I think in the last couple game weeks, they get a red card. Then Delap is like just running through the opposition players. He's fuming on the bench that their team sucks so bad. It's a rough situation. They weren't really enforced to a point where they were going to be a true contender. And they fell just a little bit short. So I think Ipswich, similar to Luton Town, they could actually end up being in trouble next season when they go down to the championship, because they kind of blew their wad trying to stay up in the Premier League. And all of a sudden, a lot of players will be looking for exits. So I have Wissa and Mbomo. I brought them in for a hit this game week. Wissa looked really good, and I think he could be someone that's in the conversation for the armband this coming game week. We'll for sure talk about that.
To not be on any pens and have as many open play goals as he does, what does he have? 17, 18 open play goals. Very impressive from him. And he's one of your guys, Bucks. You've been on him for a few seasons. When Tony was MIA and serving his suspension, you're like, this guy's like pretty solid. Like let him stretch his legs and see how he does. And wow, those two. And then you also have Mr. German Schade. Kevin Schade just comes in with a brace today.
Hey.
He's a young player that I thought might have a little bit more of a quicker impact for Brentford, and he's nailed down to place right now. He's got a hat trick this season. He's got a brace, so he's got 2 matches with over half his goals. But he does have that potential to really use his pace and find the back of the nets if the matchup strikes. So this is if you're already set in your front line and you want to go differential, if you have somebody cheap or you need to free up funds, you could definitely look at worse picks than Kevin Schade for. I just would keep your expectations low. I think he's got to be under 5.5 mil though. He's real cheap.
Yeah, I think you're right there. But one thing on Wissa, I want to just shout out. We've been talking a lot about Alexander Isak and giving him the deserved flowers and credit and honors of being among the best strikers in world football, let alone, certainly top 3 in the Premier League alongside Erling Haaland. Now, what if I told you that Yohan Wissa, his advanced stats, his counting stats are almost exactly identical to Alexander Isak, except he doesn't have penalties? Would you believe that if I told you that?
Yeah, it's also a little bit about the type of games that Brentford find themselves in. Like they're definitely
I don't know.
way more open,
We can only couch these kind of things so much. He's just a brilliant, brilliant goal scorer.
Patch. Yep, in a purple patch for sure. So,
but Chris Wood, we're falling over to give him the praise. We're falling over, when we saw Cunha in great form, but it actually might be Wissa is the third best guy in the Premier League, and he's kind of never included in that conversation, which is
always
he just keeps quietly putting in 15 to 25 goals and assists every season. At plucky little Brentford, it's very impressive what they're doing. They went from Ollie Watkins to Ivan Toney now to Yohan Wissa. That's brilliant.
Fantastic scouting. Fantastic scouting to have. There's so many teams in the league that would love just a rock solid number 9, and Wissa is obviously that, and just going through his best ever goal scoring season. And him and Bumo have both had fantastic seasons because they're going to play over 3,000 minutes. Both those guys have just played a ton of minutes. Wissa has been rotated a little bit more towards like the end of those games and subbed off, but Bumo, I was looking at something. Good Lord, he has finished 32 games with 90 minutes and then been subbed 3 times after like 80 minutes. Like Iron Man type of stuff. Wow. It doesn't look like he's got the little pot belly, it's just like his body shape. Sometimes I'm just like, if he really puffed out his belly, he just doesn't look like he's the pacey winger that everyone falls in love with, but he's technical.
He's bearded Eden Hazard, regen.
Yeah.
He's got that big truly... ass, dad bod. It's great.
Yeah. Boxing out people, hitting solo golazzos.
All right, but not
I'd be really interested, like where those two, if they are both on Brentford next year, like those are two players that I think, if you're somebody like Nottingham Forest or somebody that you're really trying to move up in Europa, like those are players that you should be targeting that maybe other clubs around the world are not really focused on. But I think there's a lot of potential, proven Premier League players. So be interesting to see.
Where Bumo would be incredible. If Tottenham Hotspur were to win the Champions League, if he could play Champions League football, he would fit in that system so perfectly. And I hate to do any advanced scouting for our direct rivals, but that is a team he would fit just brilliantly directly into. Last but not least, I do want to talk about Nottingham Forest. They're another team in focus going into game week 36 because they play home to Leicester. Yum, yum. That is the easiest of 3 points for the men of Nottingham. And I think Chris Wood, he hasn't been anywhere close to my watch list, but he might be making an appearance down the stretch back into Bucks' starting 11. Is he a player in consideration for your squad at all? You like that?
Leicester? Gotta like that, right? I don't know. NFL obviously peaked very early in the season and just maintained such a stronghold in the top 4, and now they're fading at the wrong time. Will they still be able to block out Chelsea or Newcastle? I just don't see it happening. They don't score enough goals. Defensively, they're lagging a bit. It'll help if they can get 3 points tomorrow, and then they're going to play Leicester in game week 36. Yeah,
and then they have West Ham away,
which, definitely another winnable fixture. Man, the race for a top 5 is still super tight. Like Chelsea getting 3 points today was massive, and then getting a draw out of Newcastle in a game where you definitely would have favored the Toons. So, yeah.
You love to see it. All right, let's leave this section in the dust. I think just a quick recap. The teams that we want to be targeting: Forest, Brentford, and Manchester City, as they play the relegation trio of shithole teams. Now, let's transition. This is my favorite segment. Let's dip our hands deep into the pot of gold that is our hashtag FPL Community Mailbag. Doo-doo-doo.
All right, it's mailbag time. Let's take a look. And one of the first questions is from future guest star at FPL Paz. He wants to know Wissa or Wood as the transfer in game week 36. 2 great options. Bumo, obviously highly owned. Let's see what Wissa is right now these days. He's overall 17% owned, so you can get a lot of gains from him in with the double up. So what are your thoughts between those two guys? And do you like anybody else in the strike force? Cunha, maybe somebody else who tempts. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I would ask Paz, why not both? I think it's probably worth.
Those.
Yeah, take a hit, get them both in for the last three fixtures. They both have really good end of the season run-ins. I'm a little cooler on Chris Wood just because he plays Chelsea in game week 38, and that would be very painful to my heart as a Chelsea fan to root him on for FPL points there.
It could come down to that too on the last day, that 3 points matters, and that'll be at the City Ground, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a home match for Forest. Yeah, I like both them. I think right now I have Wissa in my team. Now I'm seriously considering what to do with Marmoush. I think the optimal front three probably has Isak, Wissa, and Wood in it. But you can make a strong case that after this game week, if you don't need to make a move, 37, 38, maybe it's Ollie Watkins season as he plays both Spurs and Manchester United as they're going to be kind of setting their teams up for the Europa League final. So they might be kind of punting on the league, which you could argue they already have based on their horrible form. Fun fact, Manchester United outside the relegation 3, they're 17th out of 17 teams in the Premier League for their form since they brought in the special one, Ruben Amorim. So that's probably not good, right? We could agree on that. That's bad.
Yeah, and Watkins, he had a decent chance versus Fulham, but also got subbed early. So it
was a weird
somebody
game.
that
Very
I was going to be completely blocked off of because I did not have the likes of, or I already had a triple up with Emmy, Konsa, and Rogers. So, yeah, I mean, I still think he's probably going to be a good pick, but he's expensive. He's 8.9. So if he's hard to get to, I would avoid any hit and I would go up with Wissa or Wood instead. Just knowing how much those guys have.
You can only get one, Brian. Wissa or Wood? Who are you going with? Probably Wood for the penalties, right?
Yeah, and to have just another player that could get you that max bonus. I have to honestly I'm at the point where I actually have to sift through looking at some of the ownership in the top 500 to just figure out who's the bigger opportunity for me, right? If I go for Wood, maybe it's my differential captaincy shout. Not a lot of people might go there. So I really have to grapple with that. If I was just bringing one player in, I just bring in Wissa. I think he's just straightforward. They're going to score goals. Ipswich match is really nice. Any team that they play, they're not going to ever sit back really and play a park the bus type of template. So yeah, I think just Wissa and Bouma are just fantastic picks.
Yeah, and one thing about Brentford that we shouldn't forget is they have an outside chance of making the UECL, the European Conference League.
Whatever Mickey Mouse title that Chelsea's going for.
All right, you watch your tongue, old man. Now, I also just think that one thing that's important, whereas Chris Wood really, on his best day out, he gets 2 shots. They both end up in the back of the net. And otherwise, he's just out for some cardio. Wissa is very involved, and Brentford are a team that just pound they pound the opposition with creative chances. I think they had 17 shots in the first half against Manchester United. So, I mean, this is just a team that is eating all their vitamins. They're skipping all the vegetables, jumping right into the dessert, and they're just super fun. So, I mean, yes, we've seen more hauls from Chris Wood this season, but I think based on current form and how the teams are playing, Vissa's ceiling might be higher. So I'm happy that I went there, but I might have both them alongside Isak. I wouldn't rule it out.
All right, our next question is from @MyCayman aka Matt. He wants to know, he's congratulating me on a great game week and then also saying, here's one for you, best forward lineup for the next 3 game weeks. So it's definitely an interesting spot to be in with Haaland looming and maybe downgrading Marmoush. I mean, I still think that Marmoush can play alongside Haaland. Maybe that frees him up a little bit and gets him in more space because the defense is maybe focusing on Haaland, and he can. I mean, he's got a good burst. I think he's made some runs. I know I was watching KDB so closely on Friday, and KDB missed him on a couple runs that I thought, prime KDB would have had the vision and the technical skill to get that ball to Marmoush. So, just interesting kind of trio. I would say Wissa, Wood, Isak for me.
Yeah,
those three.
Keep it simple. I agree. One hot take that I have about Marmoush is that if he was a Chelsea player, oh my God, the media, the Premier League fans, they would already be out with their pitchforks because this guy is just living the dream on that one hat trick in that first half. I think he's played like 13 games. He only has 6 goals. He's fine. He'll be better next season. But
six goals in 12 matches, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a completely meh FPL pick right now, especially if he's playing out on the wing, far away from goal. I'm prepared. I mean, if they didn't have Southampton away, I would for sure be ripping him out of my team. As it stands right now, he's probably got one more game week in place, and then we're going to say toodles to him too.
Interesting. Yeah, I think
the universe is small. I think what we've kind of come to is that we're not really picking from like 100 forwards anymore. It's really like you got 5 or 6. I would say it's Isak, Wood, Wissa, Watkins, Marmoush or Haaland got one spot. And then maybe you want to get like Evan Nielsen. Maybe you want to get Cunha. But even then, I think we're stretching just to kind of include a name.
Man, I don't know. Cunha is on 175 points, and he's played how many minutes? Because he's missed all these suspension, 2,400 minutes. So he's the player that they have home Brighton, away Palace, but that's probably closer to Palace having a lot of rotation in their side, and then home versus Brentford in game week 38. So Cunha is a player that, man, his floor is so high whenever he plays. Like
those are 3 outside the Palace game. Those home matches are actually pretty tough because I think Brighton and Brentford are both telling themselves that they still have something to play for. They could make a European spot. So
based on what I saw of Wolves versus City, I would have confidence just in their attack to drum up a few goals in any of those matches.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
I think just, again, based on their form as of late and, going on their unbeaten run up until facing the Citizens at the Etihad, very impressed. So just another player that I will be looking at closely with my potential transfer of Mateta.
All right, I like that. So we're saying about 6 players.
He shits bonus teams. He shits bonus points. So it's like, even if he gets an assist, it's all of a sudden a 6-point assist. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if they're going to nerf that next year or what. Like, it's just some of the forward bonus stuff is just insane. Like, Isak didn't do anything today and just gets a pen in the 89th minute and gets an automatic 9-pointer. Like, ugh.
Well, it was an important pen. They were losing the game.
Of course, of course. Yeah, but still, though, he didn't do anything.
He was more impactful than Yakuba Mente, who, the guy just had he was a one-kick merchant. It ends up in the back of the net. The guy was coasting the rest of the game, kicking the Newcastle lads.
Yeah, I mean, Mente is, he didn't do his celebration. He's ex-tune. But anyway, yeah, there's some decent options. I think, like you said, you can't go wrong. Look at the fixtures. Bournemouth is playing Leicester in game week 38, so they're another team that I might look at Evan Nilsson possibly in game week 38 for a transfer. I kind of want to have one Bournemouth asset in that final day, in that final match. So they're another team just have an eye on for sure. But they, I thought they played pretty poorly in the first half of that Arsenal match, and then they really came out of halftime, and got a lot of credit to the Cherries manager. I mean, Iraola has done a really good job just this season and keeping them, confidently in the top 10 or thereabouts. So it was a big their first ever win at the Arsenal Stadium.
Yeah, first ever win at Emirates, and also more importantly, it's their second straight season setting a franchise record on Premier League points. So
that's
Iraola,
great for the
he's
fans.
cooking.
That's great for the fans to see.
So nice. They sold, their probably their gem of a player, their talisman in Solanke to Spurs, and they got even better, which is unbelievable. That's the stuff you dream of as a fan of a historically lower to middle table club. But they're entering their golden era, I think, with Kluivert, with Semenyo, with Ouattara, with Evan Nielsen. They got some exciting players, and they're going to be probably sitting on a fat stack of cash going into next season with this Dean Huijsen guy. Semenyo is also rumored to maybe be looking at the door. They could be another team that just reloads.
Hudson and Kirkes are both potential Liverpool targets, crazily enough. So, Liverpool will definitely be shopping for a few defenders in the offseason. Those guys are rumored, left back especially. Robbo is, oh my God, he is so
finished.
He is toast. But, they ran into the ground playing 3,200 minutes for like 8 seasons in a row, I felt like.
That's true. Bombing forward like vintage Cucurella.
His knees have got to be so shot. My goodness. All right. Next up, we have a question from Sudeepa Jana. He wants to know, what about Aston Villa assets? So we discussed Watkins a little bit. Obviously expensive, 8.9 million thereabouts. But what about the other guys? Do you think there are going to be goals for Rodgers or Asensio, or who else do they got in the squad right now that has less competition with Rashford out?
Yeah, well, I just want to glow up our little humble podcast here, because last week on our episode with guest host at Holy Pinto, our friend Eamon, who again does the lovely music for our intro, our outro, and all our breaks, we shouted out Tielemans, and he was really the star of the show. He's on penalties.
I poo-pooed it and was like,
for Aston Villa. Yeah, I liked it. Sometimes my shouts are good. It's just not working out for the overall picture. I think Aston Villa are a wait and see until game week 37. Now, the reason is because Bournemouth, again, they're going to be playing away. So I think Bournemouth, much tougher matchup when they play at home. And so I think, Bournemouth could be fancying themselves to go pip some points at the expense of Aston Villa, who they're directly competing with in the kind of overall top half of the table. I think that's more or less a dead ringer when it comes to who's going to come out of there with the result. And so,
man, you're telling me this now, and I'm starting double defense most likely from Aston Villa.
That almost guarantees that you're going to end up with a 0-0 clean sheet. So take that for what it is. But I actually think that they're a much better asset to look at in game week 37 for the last 2 matches than they are for the last 3. So I would be a patient hold on bring in more Aston Villa players, and if possible, I'd probably keep Rodgers on the bench if he's your 7.5, 8th attacker, like he is for many managers.
All right, next question's from Tommy99. Wants to know best triple captain choice with the chip still remaining and no doubles announced. So I know we were talking to Eamon last week about that as well. He has his triple captain, was waiting for potential doubles in 36. So now, there are a couple of cupcake fixtures. There's only a handful of guys that we really feel like have that brace potential left. So curious to hear your thoughts. City playing away to Southampton. You could risk it on somebody like KDB or Marmoush, but it doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence.
Not Marmoush.
Bucks is off of Marmoush. No Marmoush sploosh.
Yeah, the guy's a hat-trick merchant from like 7 game weeks ago, and he's still riding those coattails. I think the list is pretty short and straightforward. I would think about using it this game week on KDB as they play Southampton. I would think about using it maybe on Bumo or Wissa, but again, you really want to have the penalty taker. So again, Bumo probably at Ipswich. And then if you look at it, you kind of pulling for strings elsewhere, you could have a lot of fun and play it on Mo Salah in game week 38 when they host Crystal Palace. Again, it's a home match. It's going to be the coronation. They're going to get the trophy. And especially if you're a Liverpool player, I mean, what better way to inject it straight into your aorta than to just triple captain Mo Salah.
Give it to me.
Give me the trophy and give me those points. So, I think it's got to be kind of Isak, a penalty kick taker on City, whether it's KDB or Mo Salah. And so you're kind of running out of chances to really use it in a sexy way.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle plays Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Everton at home. Don't
He's
love those
probably out.
matches for a triple
And Wilson
captain.
is
So
back taking minutes. So I actually think maybe my Isak, I misspoke there. I wouldn't use it on Isak.
yeah, it was interesting because they were chasing the game, and Wilson came on, and Isak
For
stayed on.
Willock.
And
Yeah, for Willock.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like that.
but they're chasing the game anyway. Yeah, there's not too many options here. I mean, I still think City versus Southampton. City are in good form. They've drawn once and won 4 out of their last 5, so they're just ratcheting it up. I don't think they're going to score more. I think 3 goals would be an estimate that I would feel pretty confident about City scoring versus the Saints, but that might be good enough for a triple cap.
Yeah, take that chance of a double return from KDB, and you ride those 3 bonus points to go with it. I think that's probably the move.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have
one
more
last
questions.
one, Brian. One last one. You know, if you still, I don't know what this manager's team sheet looks like, but if you are willing to wait until 38, you know, Arsenal do play away at Southampton, and that could be a really nice one if you want to go Saka. But again, you're really pulling at the bottom of the barrel right now because you waited.
Yeah, and how many minutes is Saka going to play? It's so weird to see him play 80 plus minutes versus Bournemouth, and they take that L. Stupid Arteta. My goodness. All right, 2 more questions here. One from friend of the show at FPL Theorist. Scott wants to know best mids to fill out on a free hit team.
Ooh,
for game week 36, and he's maxed out on City, Brentford, and Forest assets. So he's gone in really heavy on those fixtures. And then this kind of goes in hand with a question from OG Blues Hindu. He wants to know best differentials for game week 36. So yeah, I mean, I haven't thought at all about a free hit. I know those guys in the Discord were talking about a alternative strategy where if those doubles got announced, they could really go in with 11 doublers where few managers would have, 4 to 6 maximum. And so unfortunately that did not pan out. And so, they're looking at free hit 36, or do you just save it for free hit 38 and just have some fun? I guess it depends where you are in the ranks, but I
prefer it for 38. I prefer for 38, but if you're intent on using it in 36, I think you have to have Bowen in place. Again, they're going to play Manchester United. Manchester United will be playing twice. Their defense is already really shaky, even when they have full rest, and they won't have that. So I think that's a no-brainer. And then I actually really like the idea. You know, we mentioned earlier in the podcast that Cole Palmer is really lightly owned. You know, he hasn't gotten the returns, but I think from watching the games, he's been the man of the match for the last 2 or 3 Chelsea matches. It's hard to give it to anyone other than Moises Caicedo, the way that lad is playing right now. But Cole Palmer has penalties. Chelsea are going to go for it. They need to get the 3 points, and that means they need to score goals. So if Chelsea score, more often than not, Cole Palmer is involved. I know the last 10 game weeks might have put us off the scent there, but he gets his goal, really well-taken penalty. He hit the inside of the post only to see it go right back out. I mean, this guy is a star. He's a really top player. And if 95% of other managers don't have him, I would like to be riding with the 5% that do as a mega differential. So I like that.
Yeah, interesting.
You hate that. I see it in your eyes.
No, it's in terms of differential with a player with the brace plus, ceiling. I do like it. I was looking at some other content from friend of the show, Gian Batra, and he was talking about how Cole Palmer is, and he's a Blues fan as well, that he's just a mega differential. And so instead of going with Saka, he's really thinking about going with Cole Palmer for these 3 fixtures where they need the win. Tough though. Away at Newcastle, home United.
Man United, who stink.
That should be a win. But then away at Forest on the last game week. So it's an interesting shout for sure. If I were on free hit and we get any news though, I would be captaining Holland for sure. Like if we get any of that type of news, like going him as your captain on free hit, it seems like a no-brainer. We'll see later in the week how that pans out. Other differentials, I mean, the backline, I'm not spending any transfers on defense. Like people are like, oh, should I take out my Arsenal defenders? Like, no, like Let those guys rot.
Who
It's
cares?
so hard to predict where the clean sheets are going to come. Every clean sheet seems lucky to me, basically. Like outside of playing Leicester or playing Saints, I think every time I get a clean, I'm like, man, that was really lucky. And so I don't waste any time there. Making transfers or looking for differentials. Focus on the attack. And I don't know. I think Cunha is someone who still he tempts. Like if we got news that Haaland is definitely going to play, and you think Marmoush's minutes are going to go way down, you could go with 90-minute performance from Cunha at home versus Brighton. So
I don't know if Cunha is for sure 90 minutes himself right now, but let's leave that question. Any last ones, or we're ready to bang out?
No, any other ones we'll make sure to answer on X or wherever you've engaged with us. We do appreciate you guys giving us good things to talk about on the pod, and
we love the engagement. It's all about you all. Yeah. So especially if you're having a better season than me, we appreciate you still tuning in. I know you're mostly looking for Brian's feedback because he's the wonder kid this season. Man. But, as we all look to welcome new kids into the world, basically me and you and some other lads in the hashtag FPL USA community, let's transition to our final segment. Captains. Transfer plans and captaincy shouts. Let's let the listeners, sit on pins and needles waiting for your plans. I'll let everyone know what I'm doing.
Take it away.
I am super, super excited for this game week because I am taking another hit. Oh, yeah. I will likely be going Marmoush out to Wood. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Okay.
And then
one goal in the last 7 league matches, Mr. Chris Wood.
Yeah, but he has get right games against Leicester coming up. Yum yum. And then I also think I'm going to be saying hasta la vista to Ismail Assar.
Oh yeah, bin him.
Yeah, he stinks.
That guy.
Why did I have him in my team? Golly.
You had the double, and then of course he braces. He scores 2 fantastic goals in the stupid FA Cup semifinal. And you're like, where's those points been?
That's been the story of my season, unfortunately. And so I think I'll be binning him, and I think I got to go Bowen. It's probably a little too chalky, and it might be a little too late. But if I look at Sar and I look at Bowen, who's getting me more points? Pretty sure it's the Jared that can't spell his name right. So that's where I'll be going.
Bowen.
And then I'm going to go Wissa as my captain. I love the man so much. I
like that.
Wissa.
Yeah, I like that for you. I like that for you a lot.
Which means you think it's a shitty move.
In midfield? No, I mean Wissa. I definitely might end up there too, and just hope that the rest of my team is the combination is the differential rather than going with against Wissa. I mean, yeah, he's a good pick. I don't hate it at all. So Wood, I just don't know if Wood is like is his upside. Do you think he gets a return? Like NFO are not scoring a lot of goals. Do you go with somebody who can get that double return and bonus?
Yeah,
so just something to think about for you.
Maybe just something to think exciting.
About. Yeah, and then you have another player that maybe you luck into Bumo getting max bonus in the game, and then you get Cunha double haul and max bonus, and just something to think about. I think.
Yeah, I like that chat.
For your rank. Wissa ticks along. He gets tons of 5 to 9 pointers, but is there that 15 pointer that you kind of need to break my terrible OR of last year?
Yeah, there's nothing being broken other than seals on bottles and formula in this household.
Oh yeah, ripping open the next bag of diapers. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Amazon
all right,
package
Bucks.
is here. Let's rip it open.
All right, we'll pivot to my team. 1 free transfer. I took a hit last week. The team is shaping up pretty well. I'm still undecided like what I'm going to do for my defense. My main problem for defense. I'm going to start Emmy in goal over Raya.
Okay, I like that.
And then I have Munoz, Gavardiol, going to start both those guys. And then who do I start between Kansa, Kiwior, and Livramento? Probably do I just
Kansa.
double up
if you're
on
starting Emmy, you just gotta
double
roll it out.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing. And I don't know if there's any cleans for any of those defenders though. So if you think about it like that, who has the most attacking threat between Livramento, Kansa,
probably
and
Livramento
Kiwior?
then. If you're adamant that none of those teams clean, probably Livramento is the pick. But he's also probably the most likely to get a yellow card. So it's a balance.
Yeah. Yep. But rest of the team is looking great. I'm going to bench Rogers again. And then I got Bumo, Sala, Bowen, KDB, Marmouche, Mateta, Isak. Probably move off of Mateta in with my one transfer and not take a hit. But captaincy, do I ride with KDB again? Do I just keep doubling down?
You do. I would put it on Savio if I knew he was going to play.
Yeah, I think and the team knows that Kev's just a city legend. He's got a couple more runouts left for the team, and he's been a good soldier for the team over these years. And I think the team will be just looking for him. I mean, Doku, I gotta praise Doku. That was one of his better passes I've ever seen him make. Usually he fucks that up 99 times out of 100, and somehow he was able to cut back that ball and it squared it to KDB for that goal.
Well, you know why it works so nicely, because Kevin De Bruyne might be slower than your podcast co-host right now. So normally, he has to really make a precision pass because the window closes so quickly.
I know.
Kevin De Bruyne is like,
stuck in mud, just like,
it's like,
I mean, that's why he's playing the false 9 though, so he doesn't have to run so much, just like runs in his little square area of the pitch. But it's Kev, so
what a handsome wanker that guy is.
I didn't think I was going to go back there, but 250 goals and assists in the Premier League, like true legend. I think I really have to look at that. Otherwise,
right? He's not the best midfielder in Premier League history. We can put that to bed, right?
Yeah, one of the best passers though, I think from midfield, like prime Kev in his passing. I don't know if there's anybody that tops him there, but his goal threat's obviously much less.
There was this guy, Cesc Fabregas. There was this Paul Scholes. If we do some research, Kevin De Bruyne, all-time great, not all-time greatest midfielder for the Premier League history. I think we can comfortably give him those flowers. So, KDB, captain, transfer move?
It's either going to be KDB cap or... I was looking at Wissa as captain as well, actually, for a second. But
Shield.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to be 250, I feel like I just go with KDB again and just hope that they destroy and pick apart in a press and he gets a side pass for an assist and then maybe gets a goal.
Tap in. Yeah, I think, you love that.
Yeah. But I feel like I strongly have all of the other than Watkins, nobody's going to hurt me, so I may as well go with Kev if he's lower owned, and that was kind of my outlook going into this week, and just go for it, and hopefully be inside the top 200. That would be quite something. So that's where we're at, Bucks.
Yeah, it's all looking up for this podcast. For your two co-hosts, I'm Bucks. That's Brian. Find our humble little podcast on social at FPL USA Press Play on all channels. I'm FPL USA Bucks. That's FPL USA Brian. We also do feature a third co-host who we want to send our love and support to. That's Dan at FPL_Blackwolf. He is the guru, the creator, the sexy brain behind the hashtag FPL USA community. And again, he will be back on this podcast. We're just giving him space to prioritize his health and his well-being. But that has been another great episode of the FPL USA Press Play podcast.
Yes, sir.
We want to wish you a green arrow, lots of fun footy to watch in the coming days and weeks. And we hope you finish your season on a high note. Like Brian,
3 more to go.
When he hears his baby screaming.
3 more to go. So use those transfers wisely. Captaincy, could go differential. Lots of
the chips
changes to go. Yeah, use the chips. Good luck. People have
I saw
man or bench boost left. Just like,
did you know there's like 10% of the community that's just they're ranked above me and they've used none of their second half chips? How humbling is that? Golly.
Oh, damn man. All right. Well, if you've listened this far, also, if you could give us a subscribe on YouTube, you can see our domes there. We're just going to try and build that up, especially for next year, do a little bit more of the animation and stuff. But yeah, please tune in and give us a sub there. We appreciate it. Catch you later.
Later.